You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
You're so funny because I always sit over here and you do a bunch of different things in front of the camera trying to decide, and I can see it before everyone else can see. And you always don't choose the thing I think you're going to choose. How are you?
Oh, just got my old Bank of Blue Valley cup here, just doing good. And we were talking earlier with our panel about your pool. And
I'm never getting a pool.
Bank of Blue Valley, they just don't do $100 million deals. And we got a little bit of a real estate bend on this show as well. So they know a lot about great banks. They know about Bank of Blue Valley. But I want to play with toddler toys. So what people don't realize when you can't see what we're wearing or what we're doing, maybe I just need something to keep my hands occupied. Mm-hmm. So I'll use something to keep my hands occupied with. You have your hair all done up because you are out and about doing what?
We have a big corporate client in town, so we were doing a photo shoot. So I went and saw that. They have about 7 to 10 different franchises they manage. So we went and did that. But listen, I want to talk about something more exciting. Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this pool. Bank of Blue Valley did give me the home equity loan for the pool, but now I just need a pool company. So if you happen to be watching, please help me get a pool. Please. Every pool company I call now is booked out so long. Say hello, even if you don't know a pool company. Tell us hi. Tell us where you're watching us from. Scott, I need to talk about the Casey Can. We had a Casey Can show a couple weeks ago, and the Casey Can auction is not this Friday, but next Friday. There's just a few tickets left. So if anybody wants to go, they need to come, but it is 007 theme, and we are still looking for a few more silent auction items. But do you have your outfit picked out?
Well, I told you the idea, but I don't want to share it on the show because I don't want anyone to steal it. But I was with Chris Culberson of Creative Planning this morning. I was shocked that I couldn't believe that things are almost sold out, but it's a popular party. And I think a lot of people think of Peter Maluk as kind of that next Buck O'Neill, Ewing Kaufman, Terry Dunn. He's really special. So we're very lucky to be on that with him and his wife, Veronica. So I think I would say that we're selling out because you and I are so cool, Aaron. But I think people they want to be a part of things that the organization is doing overall.
It was this show. Everybody bought their tickets after seeing this show. Okay, I want to, right? That's it. It has nothing to do with anybody else. No, I want to hang out with Peter and Veronica. I'll tell you that. Look, David, if he was in the country, he would come. He's in Qatar. Madison over in Florida is watching on LinkedIn. Hey, Madison. Lacey says, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Lacey. And Andrew says, good afternoon from Ascend Learning in Leawood. That's the way to do it, Andrew. Say who you're with. Network, connect with the other people over here.
Well, hold on, time out. That's not fair. Andrew is in marketing, so he knows. So, and then Lacey on October 7th is having a fundraiser for her big brother's big sister's most wanted at the Gardner Edgerton hangar, which is an airplane hangar. And then, David, you'd be happy. I'm ordering Thelma's Kitchen for an event I have with Andrew Brain tomorrow at Westport Commons. So a lot of active listeners today.
Gardner Edgerton, that's where I went to high school.
And that's where you got the square pizzas.
So I got the square pizzas at GEHS Trailblazers, the old school. It's now the junior high. So that's how old I am. All right. Nobody cares about where I went to high school in 1990s. Let's go ahead and bring out our panel. Are you excited? Wait till you hear this song I pulled. It's really classy. You ready? You know what song it is? All right, our first guest today is Dondi.
Hi.
Our second guest is Logan in his professional studio. And last but certainly not least is Connor. Did you guys see that song coming? They actually requested it. That's why I played it. Oh, and Logan was the requester of that song. So, hi guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just jumping on, make sure you tell us you're watching. Look, Jeff says he's watching all the way from Lake Latawana. Jeff, I'm jealous. It's a good lake day.
Jeff does a little bit of a happy hour. Anyone that's interested, he's one of the most connected people in the state of Kansas. Everything from Colby, Kansas to Johnson County. And if you want to drink booze on a lake, go to Jeff's house.
Okay, I'm coming over right after this, Jeff. Be ready, all right? Okay, Dondi, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Well, hello. My name's Dondi Dix, and I am the proud owner of Avant Acoustics here in town. And as a side note, I'm also proud to have Jeff on my team. So I got to Kansas City. Hey, I was born in this area. Love Kansas City all day long. I've worked all over the world, but this is always home, always will be home. Can't make me leave it if you tried. So there it is.
All right.
Well, hey, you got to give a little more detail than that.
We need to know who you are, your history.
Like the whole, okay. So I grew up in Leavenworth, Kansas. And that sparked a military career. It's hard to grow up in Leavenworth without getting into the military. So after I did the military, I went back to KU and got a business degree and said, all right, well, what am I going to do now? And I have had the privilege of working for, some of the largest and the best companies in the Kansas City area and, several. So first Accenture Consulting, Sprint, then Dairy Farmers America, Lockton Insurance. But that whole time, my entire family were entrepreneurs in this area, every single one of them. I was the only one that went corporate. And so in the back of my mind, I always knew, I was like, okay, when I find the right thing or when it's the right time, I definitely want to get into business ownership. And I'm also very passionate about now helping mentor other veterans, find jobs in this area and also get into business ownership. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
So what does your company do? And give us the journey of when you're doing that. And then also don't forget you need to connect with Jim Kane, the owner of Santa Fe Glass. He has a venture fund, which your look on your face is you already know. So let's talk about your organization and how you started it, and then jump into things you're doing to help veterans. And thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. It was my pleasure. First and foremost, so Avant Acoustics, under different names, has been around since 1964. I am lucky enough now to be the third owner and a steward of a wonderful company that's been around for quite some time. So originally it was called Coffee and Fricky and Associates, and then in 2000, and then around the the early 2000s they renamed themselves to Avant, and then the next ownership change occurred in 2014. So now I just recently acquired the company in late 2020. So I'm pretty new at this. Avant Acoustics is a acoustical consulting firm, and they also do audio video design. And so it's absolutely so much fun. Everybody knows that when you go to a stadium, everything could be perfect, but if the sound's off and you can't hear what's going on, or if the sound's bouncing around the room, it can drive you a little crazy after a while. So whether you're in a performance space, at a convention center, at a stadium, or if you can't hear what's going on at an airport because all the announcements sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, that's super annoying. Okay. So that's exactly what, first and foremost, we endeavor to design it right the first time to make sure that it's going to sound great right out the gate. But if not, and you need some acoustic rescue, we can help you with that too.
Now, do you ever partner with, a lot of people don't realize that Kansas City outsources sports architecture to the world. Mm-hmm. So do you work with a lot of architects or maybe at Dimensional Innovations? And then also make sure you jump into what you're doing potentially with different veterans and helping them buy businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, we work with a ton of architects, and we're so proud of the fact that Kansas City really is a hub for sports architecture, and oftentimes that's how we get brought in as specialists. Either an architect or a general contractor will call and say, "Hey, we have a specialty need," whether it's keeping noise in, keeping noise out, or making AV amazing. And so, yeah, that's actually where our strongest partnerships come from across all those industry verticals. In terms of veteran ownership, I mean, like I said, I started out in the Army, and during my corporate years, I was really focused on partnering with organizations like America Corporate Partners to retranslate a military resume into something that the corporate world will understand, because we have such amazing talent in the leaders that have been in the military, and oftentimes it just gets lost in translation. That's all it is. And so that's really where I started getting an interest, was trying to figure out how to get more vets back to work, and really promote those leadership skills. So now that I've transitioned into business ownership and I'm trying to help out more with small business ventures, it only seems natural, for me to be plugging in and trying to help on that front as well. And yes, I do know our friends over at Santa Fe Glass, absolutely. And I think that this is more we're going to be hearing about in the next several years. People are really starting to connect around this, and I do think that there's a lot of skills that veterans have that make them naturally suited for business ownership.
I like it. Look, Lacey says she loves it. Madison says, wow, she loves it. Everybody loves you, Dondi. So we're so excited to you on today. All right, Logan, who are you? What do you do? How do you get Kansas City? And why do you have such a fancy setup?
You look good.
All right. Thank you. And my name is Logan Freeman. I'm a founder and principal of a company called FTW Investments. Simply put, we help investors get exposure to commercial real estate without having to manage toilets, tenants, and trash. So you can invest into those projects without actually having to deal with all of the headaches. My journey to Kansas City is somewhat interesting. I grew up in Jefferson City, Missouri, where is the capital. A lot of people don't actually know that. Maybe people on this call probably do because we're local, but many people that I speak with outside of KC or Missouri do not. And I went to school in Warrensburg, played football, had a good career, was able to get picked up as an undrafted free agent with the Oakland Raiders. Was quickly cut from the team, decided that football was no longer for me. And I went back and finished my master's degree. And then I knew I was moving to Kansas City. So I got my first job in Kansas City right after that. And about, 3.5 years into Kansas City, 4 years here, I was fired from my last job. And that's when I started in the real estate space. And we've grown to 11 employees now and have a decent amount of holding around the city. And we're growing outside of Kansas City as well. So that's how I got here. Why do I have a great setup? Well, I acknowledge and embrace social media, digital marketing, and I think it's so important. And so putting out good video content myself, as well as being on a lot of different podcasts and shows and hosting my own. And so if I'm going to put something out there, I know Aaron respects this. I want it to look and feel very good. And so that's the reason that I've got a nice little studio here at my house.
Well, kind of walk us through all the different things that you're doing on social media. One thing that I love is when you would do a recap of your week. Obviously, you're super busy now and the company's gotten a lot bigger. Yeah. But what are the types of shows that you do personally? And what are some shows that you like being a guest on as well? So for our listeners that are also really in tune with social media, that they can follow you or follow your friends.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest piece is presence for me. We attract a lot of capital from investors that you have to be known to be liked and trusted. And if we're going to be wanting to be known, we have to be out there. And so LinkedIn has been an incredible platform for us, probably the best platform for us to grow our audience. And I just recently, it was pre-COVID, which was great, but I started to be on podcasts and sharing my message and story and then figured, hey, why don't I host my own show and have great people come on and do that? More recently, I would say that I had a new podcast start in January of this year, basically to document a goal of mine, which is to complete $100 million worth of commercial real estate here in Kansas City in the Midwest. And so I started this show as kind of an interactive journey to show folks, if you have a goal, you can set a goal, you can stay accountable to it, and have a weekly show where I kind of come up and give people an update on that. And that's resonated with a lot of people because you get to see the trials and the tribulations, hear about my kids and getting COVID and working through all the different things, and so just being real and authentic on the line every single week has helped grow that brand and that presence for people. Because if you think about my business, Scott, folks are wiring $100,000 to us to invest, to be fiduciaries of, without ever meeting me in person. And so you have got to be able to build some sort of relationship with those folks. And so social media, telling the story, doing video content, all helps that relationship building. And the best thing I ever hear is, Logan, before I got on a call with you, I felt like I knew you. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful pieces of what we can utilize today. So I'm on there every single day, putting that out. Shows that I like to go on to are interactive ones like this. Honestly, I've gotten bored of just being the one-on-one kind of interview type of scenario where I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. It's a necessary evil, I think, but the most fun and engaging shows that I get to interact with other people are definitely my favorite ones, and what I'm seeking out, more recently.
You've been coming for my LinkedIn title. Don't think I haven't noticed that, right? You've been coming. You've been doing so good. But we got a couple comments here for you. I've been following you on LinkedIn. This is the first time we've talked, and we run in a lot of the same circles. But we both feel like we know each other because of LinkedIn, to what you just said. So yep. I love that. Jeff City takes me back to the old high school football days. One of our biggest rivals. Oh, Andrew, they're always reminiscing. I don't know, Andrew. And then Jennifer says, getting fired is usually the universe's way of letting you know you are in the wrong place and nudging you closer to where and what you were meant to be. Oh, I love that woman.
That's great. I couldn't
agree more. It was on our very first show ever. So I always say, listen to her. She said, yes, does. This worked out really well. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for saying yes to us. The fun thing about being on so many shows is now when you Google your name, it'll be like all the podcasts you've been on, the first 3 pages of Google. So that's always a fun little exercise to do. All right, Connor, who are you? What did you do? And how did you get to Kansas City?
All right, my name is Connor Lucas. I am the current president of Sage Restoration. We focus on commercial and residential property damage for fire, water, mold damage, biohazard cleanup. We are full service GC work as well. But we work in the KC metro area, anywhere from Cedar Rapids area to Des Moines. We go to St. Louis, and we can handle, we go down to some Tulsa area as well. But Kansas City, I'm not that interesting. I've been in Kansas City my whole life. My parents grew up here, and then I was born here, went to Blue Valley High School, played sports there, went on to KU. Thought I was going to be a physical therapy major, and got to my junior year, and my parents were started Sage Restoration 12 years ago. So I was kind of in the business, here and there, back and forth from college. And, I was in fraternity life, and I got into my junior year, and I knew I could lead and I knew I could sell. I started looking into money for grad schools and everything. And I just said, you know what, I think I'm going to make a choice for me and go work with my parents to help lead the company. And it's one of the best decisions I think I ever made. And I'm very happy with it. And entrepreneurship is a huge thing for me. It's been a blessing to work along with my family and stay in Kansas City and help grow a company.
So tell us, it's not like you just jump into the family company. Tell us what some of your least favorite parts of the job were from college and in your early 20s, to just kind of give an idea of the type of work that your organization is so great at.
Yeah. Well, looking back at it in high school, my parents are not the type of people to just throw me in management, leadership. And I had to work my way up from a grunt worker to cleaning up on the floor, doing all the hard labor. And, I did all that in high school, and they actually fired me twice when I was in high school. And so finally I got my last, my third chance, came back and worked my tail off. But I did everything from water damage to, doing demolition and doing all the hard labor, and worked my way up the chain. It's been a great experience to work alongside them. And it's been great to work my way up because I can see now what the difficulties are, the challenges, and really how the company works and how the back end works. It's really been, it's been a blessing to do that.
What's your favorite type of client and least favorite type of client?
All clients are my favorite.
No, that's a horrible answer. Well, what's an ideal client look like? And
my ideal client is commercial. We love commercial work for senior care living, large property management, multifamily. That's where our bread and butter is.
Gotcha. I always say my client, my partner and I, Melissa, we always say people that are really high maintenance that you have to re-explain things over and over again
Yeah.
is always the tough client to do. But I'll say it, not you.
Yeah.
Aaron, I don't know if you, I'm sure maybe your way of clients are the same as mine. But what do you want to segue into next? Because I want to hear more about everyone's business and where they're looking to grow before we ask the question of a great accomplishment. May I ask that?
Well, yeah, but real quick, I want to tell Connor, listen, I got fired twice from Sonic in high school. So I don't think that's that unusual. Maybe,
No.
right?
No. I don't think so. You know what? I needed it back then. I was
Right.
focused on sports, and I wasn't, and they taught me the rope, So I learned pretty quickly.
All right, Scott, go ahead.
Dondi, so for you, what is not the question we're going to ask later, but for you, what does growth look like? Logan has a very clear goal of what he wants, and so I'll have him change that goal a little bit. But for you, what does that goal look like for your business in terms of how you want to grow and where you have your business over the next 2 to 3 years?
Mm-hmm. The most exciting thing to watch is a team. It takes a village of, the architects and all of the other contractors, and then us coming in with our expertise in order to make these very large and complex projects happen. So just seeing that all come together is really just, it's such a privilege and such an art to see all of that coming together, because there's so many moving parts. And I think everybody always underestimates just the level of what good project management will do in terms of saving time, money, keeping everybody sane during, either the design process or through the whole thing. And so, for us over the next 2 to 3 years, I really honestly believe that I've been just blessed with the most amazing technical team on the planet. And they are so passionate about what they do that, continuing to, chew it up and work on these large projects, because the good news is it's not slowing down. It's only going to accelerate from here. And the other thing that the company has a long history of doing is growing their own, mentoring, and fostering that same level of passion on the team. So I would like for the team to grow. Right now I have 9 on the technical team, and I would definitely like to continue to see that grow, because we only have so much capacity right now for these projects. But I know that they're definitely in the right place to continue to clone themselves, as it were, so that we can continue to do what they are so passionate about.
Quick question. Do you ever use like culture index or strength finders for your teams? Because it sounds like a really collaborative type workforce. Have you done that, or has it been done in the past?
I so appreciate your question, and I'm rather amazed by it. It almost sounds like we planted that, but we didn't talk about this. Culture Index is absolutely my number one favorite assessment of all time. I love what it does. I walked into a situation where I was getting to know a new team, and we spend a lot of time on that. And I do think that is important, not only to first know yourself, know how everybody's going to collaborate together, but I love that. And also you mentioned Strength Finder. I think leaning into your strengths and your passions is always going to do more to keep your energy up. And so it happens to be my second favorite tool in my toolbox to use, with people. And I think that, this, my latest venture here, it's no exception. If anything, it's more important, as you said, because of the collaboration.
Yeah, I talked to a ton of people, and everyone's like, hey, why are there so many people that consult on culture? And I always have to remind them that that's the most fun part of business. But everyone here in this, with an exception of me, I haven't had to really run an organization. My partners have done it, but you all understand the entrepreneurial journey of all the things that aren't fun. And then the fun part is getting to discuss the strategy. And but there are a lot of consultants that do that. Aaron?
I have a question while we're on this, because I find it fascinating that Dondi bought a business during COVID, right? I don't know if I would have had that courage. So you bought a business during COVID when essentially culture also meant we've got to figure out virtual culture, right? So when you go in and you're like, I love these culture assessments, is anybody talking, or how did anybody talk to you because you bought a business during this, how those I understand how they work together, right? I get all that. But then how does the virtual piece come into all of this? Because those were really set up for an in-office experience. And how do you, kind of transfer that to either a hybrid or a virtual experience?
I think that's huge. I mean, and all of us are feeling that, the switch to virtual. And yes, those assessments were primarily designed for in-person interactions, but it also starts to highlight the strengths on your team. Like maybe you've got people that they are managing their energy and the way that they deal with people differently. So that they can handle the virtual environment, or you might walk over to somebody and say, I know you're super detailed. Please help me with this. But then at the same time, knowing your people well enough to know maybe they need more of that social interaction. So you've got to figure out for the ones that need more of it, or place them into those situations. Like maybe they would really love, doing something like this kind of a format, because it's just written all over their profile. So I think it's really just about, unlocking and igniting what they're good at. And then, yes, it's been an ongoing conversation of like, how do you do that? And how does that change? Because we've all gone virtual, but I think the fundamentals are still the same and are, going to carry the day. So,
and I'm sure there's some people out there did that, and I just didn't see it. But I think all of a sudden that's such a white space to set yourself up as an expert that understands how to do it as a virtual hybrid culture expert, right? Awesome. Well, we'll probably get into that more offline because I'm like fascinated with it. And congratulations on buying the business. Logan, you want to answer Scott's question? You need him to repeat it?
Where do you, not necessarily 100 million, but other goals that you have over the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what Dondi said. I mean, we're in rapid growth phase, so we've been hiring like crazy. And so we are, kind of riding the culture wave as it comes because we're creating it. And so making sure that we have an environment that is conducive to being productive, but it's fun and everybody's getting along is super important. And so, think that, last year at this time being, only 4 people and now being at 11, we have a lot of things to be thinking about in regards to the culture piece and how we grow our team. So instead of, me just being on an island all the time, now I've got 2 or 3 people that I have to pour into on a regular basis. And then I have to reallocate my time and my schedule to make sure they're getting what they need to be productive. Thankfully, if you do the hiring process the right way, we hire a lot of self-starters. And so you got to give them what they need, but then they can get off and get running on things, which is really important. So a part of that is filling out, a few more roles in our company. So we're going to continue to hire a few more people to kind of get a really well-rounded team, which will allow us to scale to, I think, a really large size here. And so that's one piece. The second piece, I think, would be really getting the same infrastructure that we have here in Kansas City in different markets that we're interested in going into. So we're entering into the Nebraska market. We're going to Iowa, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and, west to Wichita and Topeka and east to St. Louis. And so making sure that we scale in a way that is repeatable in those markets and setting up those teams is going to be really important for our growth and sustainability for a long period of time. I think that keeping a pulse on the market is the last one that I will say. I mean, the growth for us, we're kind of a multifamily firm right now, but as the market continues to pivot, we have to be listening to it and be able to move quickly and where you see the new opportunities. And so we're going to be growing into other asset classes as well as geographic locations. And I think those 2 areas of growth will allow us to continue to keep up with the pace that we've had over the last 6 to 12 months.
I know it sounds like a simple question, but I'm wondering if it's complex. How did you know that you needed to hire self-starters?
Well, I mean, I think that all 3 of the principals of the company have a very, what I'll say, low tolerance for having to babysit. And so a lot of the roles that we have in our company, need to be able to answer questions on the fly and be able to find what they need to be able to go, because myself and partners are always in meetings and we're always meeting with new people, trying to drum up new business. And so I think that it's a piece of one being, having a low tolerance for folks that need a lot of hand holding, and 2, the job itself, you have to be able to pivot, and it's high intensity, a lot of, real estate. If you take any real estate exam, probably some folks here have maybe been an agent or something at some point. Literally in the materials, it says time is of the essence. And as everybody knows here, we're trying to buy a house or something. Speed wins in this business. So we can't really wait. And so we got to be really quick to be able to get to answers. And I'll tell you this, with all the investors that we do have now, you have kind of a responsibility to get back in a timely fashion. And if you don't, their repeat business doesn't seem to come as fast as if you're very responsive. And so being able to have folk that feel confident and can go ahead and do that. They don't have to worry about driving revenue, but we need to be able to be kind of entrepreneurs inside of the business, not necessarily entrepreneurs, but I love hiring entrepreneurs as well, because at some point they're going to make me better and go off and be awesome as well. But we look for entrepreneurs, folks who like to be an entrepreneur inside of an organization. And I think they get plenty of the entrepreneurship feel with a rapidly growing company like ourselves. So I think those are the two things that I would say, Scott.
That was a great answer. The thing, Aaron, do you have a question? Because I'm going to transition into Connor. The thing that so on Friday I'm speaking at the University of Kansas to the business school in the afternoon, and I always get a huge kick out of speaking to them because I could never get into business school because I couldn't pass the math classes. And the only piece of advice I give everyone there is just one, and that's to respond quickly. And that's it. If you respond quickly, Saturday, Sunday, 5 a.m. Tuesday, and you see it on your phone, you respond instantaneously, you will do A-OK in your 20s. And this is coming from a guy that was on the 7-night-a-week program, which means I was going out 7 nights a week. Aaron, you raised your finger.
Oh, I was going to say, I love that we do stuff like that. I'm actually just booked a bunch of CLEs, which are the continuing educations for lawyers, to teach those, and I don't have a college degree. So I love that you and I go tell all these people of a place where we've never been. That's what I love about you, Scott.
Yeah, I got nothing. It was I did a 5-year degree or a 3-year degree in 5 years. Connor, for yourself, you have goals. It's kind of like a lot of your footprint, similar to Logan's footprint. But what are some of your goals that you would like to grow? And also, I love that you're in Logan's footprint, because what great people and culture in the cities that Logan described. But what are some of the goals you have over the next 2-3 years for your organization?
To piggyback off Logan, culture is a huge thing, and we're growing so rapidly, and we're trying to keep up with the culture and keep everybody on pace with management and everything like that. So we're trying to hire as many people and get as much people in the right places, and it's right, when you're growing rapid, you got to be responsive. You have to respond. You have to have good management in place, and you got to have good leaders in your company. So with all that, my Stephanie, my mother, and my stepdad, Alan Sage, the other owner, they really did set a footprint for Sage before I came into play for the culture. And so we're just trying to grow that. And so moving forward with all the growth that we have had, when I started, we were at 6 employees, and we're at like 21, I think, right now. And so we're rapidly hiring and everything. So we're trying to put together our goals for this year, but we are working on an acquirement to help grow the company to be completely full service. And I have signed an NDA, so I can't speak on that further, but we are growing with that, and that should be done. Hopefully it makes it through by the middle of next year. So that's a goal of ours here that will help increase our revenue, probably at least double. So that's a goal of ours.
Can you say if it's a similar company, or is it an addition to your company that's giving you a new line of service?
You're going to get him in trouble.
Yeah. It's a similar company.
Go ahead.
It's a similar company that will get us into another part of the insurance realm, insurance damage, and it will help us scale quicker, basically. So that's a big goal of ours. But another big step for us is to get into a new facility. We're working on that right now. And that's a big challenge of ours, a huge challenge, is find the right space to grow into and scale. That's a big goal of ours, and we're looking, and there's really not much space out there. And I hope maybe Logan can help me out. So, like I said, I think the culture.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I won't say the name of what this organization does because Bank of Blue Valley is the only organization folks should work with. But Logan's on a show that features another brand by the name of Landmark, and they are having such trouble acquiring professionals. They're just acquiring businesses. So, Connor, what you're talking about, when you think of the labor market and having to train and having to hire, eventually we all just have to do the math. Is it less money to acquire, or is it less money to hire and train? And what is that ROI? And it's super complicated, but you have to almost go down that rabbit hole to put it to bed, to literally, to the nth degree, figure out what do I need to be doing. And I talk with a lot of folks about buying and selling their business, and there's no magic answer. You literally have to do 5-year projections of every single direction that you do. And then, because at the end of the day, it's, we say it's not all about the money, but it ends up becoming a little bit about the money. So you kind of got to go down that journey. But I haven't even thought about that in terms of different industries. It may be better for people to acquire than going through this hiring spree, because I don't know about you all, but I'm not that good at hiring. It's hard. It's an acquired talent. I feel like we get it wrong most of the time. So it's super unique.
Yeah.
Aaron, are you ready to ask our standard question?
Well, now I'm thinking about acquiring. We've got 2 new people starting Monday, and right before you got on here, I was telling everybody how we had the opposite. We have a ton of resumes coming in, but it's still, you want to make the right decisions, right? So a lot of times that is so tough. So, okay, yes.
Whoa, Aaron, I feel like in marketing, you just wait for a recession, and then strong companies that have diversified business will do it, and then you just pick them up for 1 time's revenue. That'd be
smart. Everybody's doing so well right now. We're just bringing on so many clients that I got to get people on staff right away. So, and we like to slow hire usually. So it's kind of finding that balance. So let's talk through the best part of my favorite part of the show. We get a lot of messages about this part of the show. People love the optimism. Let's talk about we know what this past 2 years have been rough, but let's talk about our biggest wins these past 2 years. Dondi, let's start with, you bought new business, but what else amazing things did you do this past 2 years?
Oh, wow. Outside of the business. That one was a big one. You can imagine. Well, the other thing I did, I think everyone got quarantine puppies, right? So in getting quarantine puppies, and then first training them not to jump into frame when everyone was working from home. And for those of you that don't know, Huskies talk. They talk a lot. They talk constantly. So I will say that over the last 2 years, just getting through the puppy phase with 2 new Huskies in the house, that was sort of a personal big win right there. Also, transitioning, a child from virtual classroom in COVID back to full time.
Okay, how old's the child?
12.
Okay,
it's a 12 age. I've got a 12-year-old, and you don't know if they're doing virtual school or if they're playing video games. You just don't know.
Well, that may have been the reason that some days his laptop was transferred from his room down to the kitchen table. Just saying. So not saying he was off task, but we certainly might have checked in once or twice. But I really think that people just, what a big, I know we're not out of the woods yet, but what a big sigh of relief to have gone from, full online school, and a lot of Minecraft going on, back to school. So that was a big one as well.
Awesome. No, when I got my 3 back to full-time school, that is my win for the past decade, I think.
Well, the reason why I asked the question is I have Logan and I have younger kids, but I would think like 5, 6. I have a 3 and 1 year old, so I think the hardest thing would be 5, 6, 7, or even that seems to be really hard. But then the other thing that they don't have to deal with is kids that are 12 is the emotional aspect and the friends. So, it's kind of pick your poison, but from a parenting perspective, I would that would be nuts to me. How old's Lily?
So I've got a 9, 12, and 15. So we had everything from having to help all the way to slamming doors around this house. So, right. I think I have this new theory on parenting in general that I share with friends like you offline, but you get prepared for the hardest stuff. Someone told me that your conditioned to love them so much, like you fall in love with them so quickly, so fast, and then the teen years gets you ready for them to move out and still love them. And so I think this whole transition that happens, because I'm definitely in the heat.
That is the best spin I've ever heard on parenting. Because when we host big executive groups, when people have teenagers like 17 or 18, all they're like is, "I can't wait till they get out of the house."
It's like a whole transition. So yes, I think it's all hard. But Logan, what has been your biggest win this past couple of years?
Well, they got a couple. I welcomed my second child into the world. So Ezra Wise Freeman is now with us and a year old, which is amazing. So having a COVID baby was definitely interesting, but he's a great little kid and a lot of fun. And I think too, I mean, this might sound funny, but especially with all the growth of the business, we moved last September from Brookside, and because we were both working from home at the time, and we just had our second kid, and we needed a little more space, and thankfully we were able to find a house to actually move into, which was great, which a lot more space. We got this studio here now, which is awesome, and that was just a big thing for us, because having two kids at home and being able to have your space and a yard to play in during COVID was really big. So when I think back the last year and a half, 2 years, that was a huge win for us. I mean, obviously the things in regards to scaling the business, Sam Zell, one of my favorite investors that I follow and look up to a lot, says when everybody's looking left, you got to go right. And thankfully, we had the foresight during COVID, when everybody was waiting on the sidelines to purchase commercial real estate, to step up and make it happen. And so we saw a small opportunity and made a big wave out of that small opportunity, which has kind of, I think, thrusted us into where we are now. And so those are all three big wins for us over the last year and a half, 2 years.
So that advice to go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, what part of the city you can't just say we moved out of Brookside and not tell us what part of the city you moved into.
Well, we are big visitation members, and that is still our parish, and it's home to us, but it just made sense for us to move. We moved across the street from Hallbrook, so we're at 113th and State Line now, just on the Missouri side, in a neighborhood called Foxcroft. So we love it over here, but if I can, I'll try to work my way back up to closer to visitation when the time comes.
Which, for those history buffs, the origins of the Civil War are on the ground where Logan lives today.
Isn't that cool?
So the term Bleeding Kansas comes from right around that area. But Logan, you talked about when everyone's going left, you go right. Do you feel like maybe you did that a little bit with what your approach is to social media? Because when you think of traditionally people in your space, you just seem to have really, gotten 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Did that piece of advice were you already doing that, or did that influence you?
Yeah, I had been doing it on a smaller scale right before COVID had kind of started. So if you go back and look at some old videos, you'll see not quite this setup, I'll tell you that much. But I was definitely doing it in December before COVID happened. And then, January, February, I started to really focus on it. And then March, it was like, okay, everybody's doing this. And so I had already had the team behind me and the system ready to go. And I was able just to kind of focus on that. But, I think the commercial real estate space is antiquated in some ways. And if you think about the folks who are owning real estate, who are operating real estate, who are doing the work, vendors like Sage and different folks, I mean, you're looking at it right here, right? I mean, millennials are starting to kind of step into some of those decision-making roles. And where do they engage? Well, they engage not necessarily just at the country club, but they do engage online as well. And so I kind of saw that happening, and just thankfully took a lot of action in regards to that. And it has made our business a lot more, acceptable during the COVID time. And so it's been a big blessing for us that we just, kind of embraced this and said, okay, well, not everybody's doing it this way. And I think it's a way for us to set ourselves apart and get our message out there to more people. Well,
I know I asked a lot of questions, but I always love it when people in real estate talk about banks, and Bank of Blue Valley is great. So try not to reference a bunch of other companies by name. But how do you choose your banking partners? Is it really just kind of like you have to get in the nitty gritty detail on every single deal? or do you have a strategy overall? Because very few people are as in depth as you are as picking that vendor space. So how do you end up finding those that you end up working with?
I mean, I think it's two pieces, Scott. You've got one, you have to be focused on the asset class that the bank wants to engage with, right? And so maybe that's geographic location, maybe it's multifamily, or maybe it's shopping centers or office. So each bank typically has a pool of capital they allocate towards a certain asset class. And then there's different risk spectrums that you also have to think through. And so maybe a growing bank is going to get a little more aggressive to get more of a certain type of deal, or they'll take a little bit more risk in regards to the business plan and or the location. And so that's the first piece, is making sure it's a right fit for the type of capital that is coming into the project. And the second thing I say is relationships. I mean, I can't tell you enough, like, how many times I've just said, look, I've got 30, 45 days to get this deal over the finish line. One bank has kind of stepped out of the mix, and I have to call on that relationship to say, I know you can get this done. I don't really care what the terms are necessarily. We got to get this thing over the finish line. And so having those relationships with some really good banking relationship people, which Kansas City has, obviously, a lot of those is super important. It's trust. I mean, it's really big in this business because, again, in real estate, if you don't hit timelines, money is gone, and so you have to be able to trust that somebody's going to stay accountable to what they told you. And so that just takes time. It just takes time with them. It takes time with all of the folks at that certain bank, and understanding what they're trying to accomplish, and them getting really comfortable with the sponsorship team and making sure that they believe in what you're trying to accomplish and that you can follow through as well.
Okay, I have one question for you, and then we're going to move on. You
All
said
right.
you like to stay ahead what everyone else is doing. When everyone goes left, they go right. You go right. So now that everybody's going towards LinkedIn, have you worked your way over to TikTok yet?
Okay, so I was definitely an early practitioner of Clubhouse, right? And so I was on Clubhouse and doing the Clubhouse thing for a long time. I'm really stringent on where I spend my time, and so I was not able to be live all of the time and engage with that type of platform. And so I exited myself from that, and I'm not sure we've necessarily missed out on a ton of things. I know some people are doing great things on Clubhouse, but I had enough networking going on outside of being networking 24/7 with my phone that it just didn't fit for me. TikTok, I have a couple buddies in my space that have engaged that platform and spent a lot of time with it. We have not done anything on TikTok. And one of the reasons is this. I think about the end user for the platform that they're using, right? And I look at my investor avatar and who my end user is and who's owning real estate. And I have not seen a lot of the type of investors that we're looking to connect with and or folks that own commercial real estate engaging with that platform yet. Maybe I need to do some more research in regards to that. I'm not saying it won't move to that, but it definitely feels like maybe more of the older age folks or folks that have been in this business that own real estate a little bit longer do still engage with LinkedIn. So we haven't made the move to TikTok yet. I'm not opposed to it, but I really got to be convinced that our avatar is there and we're reaching the right people.
Well, okay, I'm just going to give everybody on this call a TikTok fact, because my job is to watch what's coming next. And if you would have called me, I would have told you not to waste your time on Clubhouse. It was a fad. And I've been watching TikTok for a minute, but let me just give you this, because I agree with you with your end user, but I think they're going to start paying more attention. And then the millennials who are stepping into those roles are over there. Yesterday, McDonald's came out. So McDonald's, king of marketing, right? We all know who McDonald's is. McDonald's, for the very first time ever, used just a pure influencer for an influencer campaign that wasn't like also a rapper or also a musician or an actress. And so some TikTok influencer changed their logo, and people liked it a lot. So they just took it just kind of on a whim and put it on their social media. It is their most liked post ever across all their social media channels from a random TikTok influencer that wasn't even a huge TikTok influencer, but it brought that much traffic to make Facebook. They're most like Facebook, which you wouldn't think Facebook and TikTok. So I think that there's going to be a lot of crossover on LinkedIn. You're seeing a lot of people. So keep your eyes, because some of those guys might be also invested in, McDonald's and some of those other big players, and start paying attention. So, all right, Connor, speaking of our millennials stepping in. What has been a big win for you this year besides taking over everything? And talk a little to that.
Yeah, so I think the biggest win I've had this year, from the end of last year, I brought on a business development manager who really mentored me into the sales side of restoration, the commercial market, the insurance market, and truly taught me some tricks and ways to maneuver in to those markets faster and easier. And it was really great to work alongside her the last year and to really get myself out there rather than work in the business. I'm working on the business. And utilizing my wonderful staff that's been behind me to help this company scale. So it's been really great lately to get out and sell and help the company grow and get into the new markets that we could never get into when I was actually in the field working. And so it's been good. And I think the big win out of that is I could trust my team, my project managers, my office staff to get the job done, do it efficiently, and take care of my clients. And it's been awesome to have that. And so it's, like I said, it's been great to work on the business and not in it this last year.
So kind of like I asked Logan the question of like, how does he pick folks on the banking side? How do insurance companies pick Connor? And I in my world, like you would think I know a lot about insurance, but I'm not on the operations side of what I do. So I really don't know a lot about it. But, we have one of our clients that owns a property and it's damaged, and, the insurance claim is filed and we work with them on that. And then obviously we pick a restoration company. How do you sell in to the insurance side, and how do insurance people pick it? Because legally it's not like you can take a State Farm American Family person to a Royals game and say, hey, I'm going to wine and dine you, give me your business. Because I think there's things you can't do in that world to steer business. So how is it responding quickly? Or do you have to unseat someone? Like, what are the tricks of the trade to do that, to get their business?
Yeah, stuff like that does happen. It does, but we choose not to do that. That's not the way we go about it. But you have these large franchise or big box companies is what we call them, that the ServPro, the Service Masters, that have these national contracts with State Farm farmers, and it is really hard to compete with that as an independent. We don't have companies in every city, every state, et cetera, to cover the whole nation, right? So we had to basically get on programs or work with claims managers in the area for them to call us directly rather than before it gets to the 1-800 number. And so we've also worked on the back end, going through producers or bigger agents at Hub or GM Peters, Johnson Fisk, et cetera, things like that, to get in before the insurance adjuster is actually filed. So where, let's say you have a large senior living facility and it has a fire, most of the time that producer wants to retain that client and wants to call out who they trust or they know is reliable. And so we try to get calls from them before the insurance is actually involved. So that's how we kind of do it. But there's also programs like Travelers, Farm Bureau, Cincinnati, that we just work hand in hand with the adjusters and follow up and act quickly and kind of take the claim off their back because they're busy. And we try to make the claim as easy as possible for the homeowner, the property owner, and the adjuster at the same time. So,
Connor, if you get this question right, I will, and it's subjective, so it's really in my mind what the answer is, but I'll buy you a lot of beer. What is the best golf course league to play in for real estate? Unity Village.
I was about to say,
so
Unity
they have a
Village.
9-hole golf league, and it
that's
is saturated with real estate investors, people that own properties. And I didn't believe it, but after 3 years, I am now convinced. A buddy of mine that owns Duck Doctor, and then there's Guy Swanson that owns Unity Village, which is actually they have a lot of real estate there as well. I was just blown away about how nice people are that are in the real estate world. And so it's a little hidden nugget. If you join a 9-hole golf league on Tuesdays, Unity Village.
All right. I'm definitely looking into it. Trust me.
Then you don't have to play all 18. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Scott, do you want to ask your icebreaker question, your favorite part? We got 5 minutes left. So
You know it. All right, Dondi. Well, real quick, can you do the Final Four in Arrowhead Stadium? That I apologize, Aaron, for breaking the rule, but I want to make sure we get it in. Do you want to answer that question really quickly?
Yeah, no problem. It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, relationships and trust. And, how do you deliver good service, right? Well, we are fortunate enough to have a multi-year contract with the NCAA, and we always help out with the tournament, managing the live broadcast, managing the live feed, because people don't realize, like, there's a lot of complicated switching and channels and all of this just crazy complexity going on. So we are very, very excited to, have been a part of that for, several years. And we've got a team that's going to be heading down to New Orleans in order to, to manage the next phase of the tournament. So we're very, very proud of that.
Can you ever build in spend where I give you money, but then you pretend like you're sending me to New Orleans with your team and like we make a deal or something?
Yeah. You want to be a special consultant?
Yeah. I'll pay half price. So the icebreaker, I'm more interested in the food than I am the movie. So if you're going to the movie theaters, what is one of your favorite? You can do one or multiple favorite movies of all time to see in the theater. But more importantly, if you can get one thing at that snack bar, what do you get?
All right. Well, I mean, first of all, in terms of going to the movie theater to see a movie, the classic Star Wars trilogy, no question. I mean, I know we all know what generation I'm in, right? But absolutely. Because, seeing nothing like seeing the Death Star explode for the 7,000th time on the big screen with the latest bells and whistles on the sound, right? So, I'll always default to that. Oh gosh, in terms of snacks, I mean, there's nothing better than getting 15 minutes into the movie and realizing that you've eaten enough popcorn out of a tub that's 2 times as big as your head. And just going back and repeating, and you can never have too much butter, ever.
Yeah, you got to rotate and shake. All right, Logan, we got 3 minutes. What's the movie you're going to see in the theaters, and what are you getting at the snack bar?
Well, since we have all the nice theaters around us, and I'm of age now, a good whiskey and Coke is in order for me every time I'm going to the movie theater. I don't go to the movie theater very often, but I do remember going and seeing, I think it was the first Transformers movie. And I thought it was so cool. And if you guys remember, it was Shia LaBeouf and I don't remember any of the other actors, but I loved going to see that. I love the action. I can't get my wife to go to any action movies anymore, but frankly, I think that I love going now and reclining back and getting a nice whiskey and Coke and watching whatever she wants to watch.
All right, Connor, what are you feeling?
All right, I kind of agree with Logan. A nice whiskey and Coke, you can't go wrong with that. So, but we always got to get the Sour Patch Kids as well. Me and my girlfriend enjoy that. So, I think the last movie I think that we enjoyed the best was probably Fast and Furious. I can't remember the last movie I've been to, honestly, but I think that was the last one. So.
Aaron, what about you? What are you feeling when you go to the movie theater? And more importantly, I'm intrigued on what the answer is going to be on the food.
I hate going to the movies. I hate it. I think everything about it's gross. I don't like it at all. I know that sounds terrible. My favorite thing was in COVID when they just started putting the movies all my kids want to see on the TV. And I could just rent them. We got a big old TV, and I'd be like, "Here, sit on the couch. I'll make you some popcorn." Yeah. So yeah, I don't like going to the movies, but I do like Twizzlers, and I do like alcohol. So I'd probably go to the bar too. How about you?
I like it. I am a licorice person as well, Aaron. We're kindred spirits.
Here we are again.
Mine was more town center in the early 2000s. I joke around that I met more people at town center than I did in high school. College was a different story, but town center back in the day was where all the middle schools came and hung out back in old South Kansas City, south of 435. It was a happening spot. So, but what's also happening is Bank of Blue Valley. So, Aaron, how do you want to wrap up the show? How do you want to end it? How do you want to put the positive marketing spin?
Your parents let you go to town center in middle school? Sorry, I'm just like processing this. My
Oh,
house
yeah.
is now where all the middle schoolers hang out. It's really good, fun time. But I would not let they are so dumb. I would not let them go to town center. I feel
Oh
like
yeah, the high schoolers would pick you up. You bang in heat. You go to the top of the hill. You know where the Sprint campus is. That's where you do other stuff. You know,
Bad
it was fast times at Ridge Mountain High at good old South Leawood.
Bad deal. I'm not that mom. Awesome. Okay, well, we've got about 20 seconds left. Go get your KC Can ticket if you want to have some actual drinks with me and Scott next week. Thank you so much to our panel for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Bank of Blue Valley. We will be here next week, same time, same place. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy what may be the fall soon. See you later.